Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here doing a complete series review for Steins. One of my recent anime binges, just catching up on the random shows that are fairly popular, stuff that I see around. It's like, alright, I'll finally check it out. With it being time travel, of course, is like, I gotta look into it. As a huge Back to the Future fan, it's like, let's see how somebody else does time travel. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. I watched this, I want to say it was probably 2 weeks ago, something like that, almost, two and a half, and I really enjoyed it. I kind of watched it. I want to say like over a weekend. I think it was like maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or just Saturday and Sunday. I watched the whole thing. It's like 26, kind of your normal full series anime, about 26 episodes, and I thought it was really good. I was like, all right, I like the story. All the characters are really silly, so that was definitely entertaining, which I wasn't expecting. Especially, I watched it dubbed, so it would probably be a little bit different if you watch sub. This is one of those anime, which the dub is good, by the way, but this is definitely one of those anime where I'm like, I think you should watch it dubbed just because they make so many nerdy references, and a lot of it, like they make references to Star Trek. There's a lot of like internet speak, so it's like a lot of that stuff is just funnier to hear in English, at least for me, because I'm used to that. So I would recommend it if you don't legitimately speak Japanese or understand it. I'd say just watch the dub because you'll definitely get the jokes a little bit quicker. It'll be funnier to you, and it's just one of those things. So I was surprised by that. Like all the characters are absolute nerds in their own right. Some people are just out with it. Some character, like one girl, she tries to hide it through like the whole series, but she lets stuff slip every once in a while. But really enjoyed that. I can't remember anyone's name because I suck at names, and plus this was weeks ago when I watched it, so it's just like I remember the whole story, but just nothing else. But avoiding spoilers for the first couple of minutes, I really loved it. Like I would highly recommend this anime. Like I knew about it. It wasn't like obviously not Naruto, Bleach and One Piece type levels, and Dragon Ball Super is not like way up there, but I'd always heard about it. And it's like it's a good anime. It involves time travel, the limits and disasters of time travel. So it's like, all right, what's gonna happen here? So I finally decided to check it out. And just the first, I even made a tweet about this. I watched the first half of the first episode. I had no clue what was happening. I was like, okay, normal story, normal story. They're just going through the day. And then it was just like, boom. And I was like, I don't understand how this happened or why this happened, which is one of those things they get to it later. But I was just like, I don't get it. By the end of the first episode, I was like a tiny bit less confused, but I still didn't understand like the first half where I was just like, how did that even happen? What's going on? Why did this happen? I wasn't 100% sure exactly what was going on in the story at all by the end of the first episode. So I was just like, okay, here we go, episode two. So, it goes through and I start to understand things a little bit more. But I really loved it. I was like, okay, crazy, confusing start for me at least. Other people probably got it, but I was just like, I don't understand how it started. I thought there would be an explanation as to how they get into, sort of into time travel. That like right off the top, that is not what they're gonna do. It's just time travel, and you're just like, I don't know how that happened, and I don't get it. So look out for that in the first episode for sure, but definitely entertaining as it goes forward, explaining things and then getting into more time travel and testing it, and because they're actually scientists, or at least one guy is, um they get into like legitimately testing theories and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, this is cool. And then the normal bad stuff happens with time travel, so it just gets crazier and crazier. It's like, how do we do this, how do we do that, how do we fix stuff? Some people, like remembering stuff that already changed, not remembering stuff for certain people. And it's just like, this is cool. I like how this is playing out and seeing the different effects with who utilizes time travel versus who doesn't, and people remembering and not remembering. So highly recommend it personally. I kind of, like I said, I did it in like a weekend. I just like shot through because it was just like, I can't wait to see how this is. Like once it starts ramping, it just gets really weird and like almost a little worrisome, where you're just like, I'm worried how much they're about to screw up here. So you kind of keep watching just for that, and then you have to watch for the solutions and figuring out how this is gonna be brought back to like reality, or like a simple version of reality. So definitely enjoyed that. Like I said, I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. Don't worry about the first confusing episode. Definitely, just keep going with it because it's really fun. So that I would say is it for like non-spoiler stuff. So officially getting into spoilers, check out the anime, or if you don't care for spoilers, keep watching. Getting right into it, I would say the craziest part was probably when the one girl kept dying and the main character keeps trying to save her. I love that, and that's what kicks off. I feel like that was almost like at the halfway point, which is weird. But they did spend quite a few episodes. I felt like it was so many episodes because he kept doing it. Even in one episode, he kept retrying. So it felt like it was weird. It kind of messed with time a little bit for me, where it's just like he keeps trying, and I'm not really sure. I think there may have only just been 2 episodes, maybe even 3, but it feels like there were so many episodes where he was doing that. Excuse me, because of how many times we actually get to see it. But love that, and that's when the whole series just got really crazy because I was like, okay, well, they talk about this other organization, and then we of course have the girl that's from the future, where it's obvious that she's from the future, and it's like, all right, well, how is this really going to play out? She thought it was the girl who with the red hair who dies in the beginning, but then she gets saved. So it's like, all right, so she's kind of the bad guy, but not really. And then it ends up being the super insanely quiet girl who we find out through, I think, the 3rd attempt, or maybe it's like the 5th attempt or something, that she the whole time was actually under the control, or at least working for the guy who's the owner of the building, which is insane to me. I was like, I did not see that coming. And so it's like she was working for the organization, then they kill the young woman, and then that's when it's like, crap, I have to save her life. And so they keep going, and then it's like, crap, the only way to save her is to reverse every different step that we had, which was another huge thing. They had to have made the dumbest decisions I've ever seen for characters with time travel. Like, once they understood it, it was like, okay, let's start with the lottery thing, and it was simple, let's test it, let's not go crazy with the millions, let's do like, a couple hundred or a couple thousand. And then after that, it was just like, all right, well, we can't tell you about anything unless you're a full member. And you have no test, no nothing. It was just like, you're a member now. He went up to like 8 people were members. And then when it got to the cosplay girl, where it's like, I want to utilize the phone, she wouldn't tell them what it was. And I'm like, I know that's like that's one of their friends, but that is a terrible idea. It was like, you're changing history. And I knew it was going to end up being her dad. Like, once it changed and her dad like randomly walked around the corner, I was like, oh, it's her dad. Like, because they didn't really say it yet, but I was like, it was definitely, she just saved her dad's life. I knew it was that off the top. So it was just like, okay, yeah, let's change this, let's change that. We won't even, we trust you, we won't even ask what you just did. And I'm like, that is an absolutely terrible idea. So constantly just worse and worse decisions as they're going through, little changes here and there. And then once it gets to the point where he's like, I have to reverse everything, that's when we find out that the guy was the one in control. They thought they figured everything out, and then the girl from the future goes back in time, and we find out that she forgot when she got back in time until she got super old, and then she killed herself the first time, and then the second time she just naturally got sick. And I was like, this is just insanely sad and weird, and it's super crazy and all sorts of different things, but absolutely loved all of that. And then it's trying to get that final thing where the girl with the quiet woman, trying to get her to get the other phone. And so that was like their big task for a while, because he could not figure out what was going on. So like that just took a minute. It was just like, this is freaking nuts. And then seemingly when everything is over, because I didn't know how many episodes were in the series initially, it's like, okay, so they technically solved it, and it seemed like it was kind of going back to normal. And then there was still like 3 or 4 episodes left where the girl comes back from the future, and then it's a new version of the time machine where it actually fits 2 people, which I thought was cool. And then that's when they find out that they have to go all the way back to the beginning of the series, and that's when we find out that they faked the girl's death. And I was like, that is nuts. And that totally explained why in the first episode she was like, like, because of course you those are like those little cool things where it's like, oh yeah, that was 20 episodes ago, so you forget. In the first episode, she was like, why were you so freaked out like a couple minutes ago? And he didn't know what she was talking about. And I was like, oh, like as soon as they went back, I was like, oh crap, I forgot about that in the first episode. So little stuff like that I loved. And them just going through the process, and him having to like get himself stabbed and stuff like that. And it was just insane. It was just so well done. It was crazy. And everything officially works out. They solve all their problems, and then they still have like the little epilogue episode, which actually worked. I thought it was just going to be like normal kind of epilogue thing, where it was like, this doesn't even fit into the story, but fortunately it did, because not only do they end up finding the girl from the future, they find her mother, which I thought was really cool. And it was like like she just goes off, he doesn't introduce her or anything, it's just like, cool. I'll see her in seven. I'll see her in 7 years when they end up together and they have the kid. So I was like, well, that's kind of a cool little thing. And then we get to the main character and the woman with red hair officially getting together by the end because he fell in love with her over all the times that he went through time, and they ended up bonding through that. Even though she didn't have that same bond because of the time travel, he still did, and eventually they end up getting to that point again by the end. I was like, that was a really cool way to end it, and I was like, I was kind of surprised that it actually went back to that route. So I was happy with that, and they were in the U.S. in the end, so I was like, oh, it's a funny little thing there. But definitely love this series. It's definitely one of the really good time travel stories. The ramifications and what it takes to change time back to what it originally was, because that was not necessarily easy for him, especially with the fact that everyone started to remember what happened in the initial timeline. So that was pretty cool too. And it was just like every time he would kind of talk to them about it, that's when they would start to remember more and more. So I was like, I actually like that. And they he goes through the episodes with the boy that ended up becoming a girl and going on a date with her, and then them reversing that, and of course the cosplay girl and her having to basically sacrifice the dad again, and then him them going through the process of letting the one girl die. So it's just like, man, that was really crazy. And then they're still able to fix that because that wasn't actually what happened. She like fake died. So just insane time loops and time travel and all sorts of absolute madness and saving the world from World War III. So definitely a great series, highly recommended. Of course, if you got to this point, you've probably already seen it. If not, I spoiled like a lot of great stuff, but still check it out because it's definitely funny. So you can at least enjoy the comedy of that. But yeah, I would love to know what you guys thought about this series and just your favorite moments and stuff like that. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Favorite moments, like I said, least favorite moments. What you guys thought about it in general, because it's probably the only story I can really think of where they just straight up reversed everything they changed. Like normally with time travel stuff, it's like, oh well, we change time like this, so we go back, and typically they either have to fix it or change it back. And it's normally it's like in movies and stuff, it's like, oh well, we have to change that one thing. If they did just like, let's just reverse it, let's go further back, or something like that. Typically though, it's like, oh well, we changed this, so now we have to go a little bit further and then try to recreate the original timeline. This was just like, I just need you to reverse it, and he had to convince people to reverse things that they wanted to change because it was basically saving lives and stuff like that and things they've always wanted. So definitely like just a crazy little moment. I was like, wow, that's not how you normally see that happen. It's typically much simpler than having to convince people to change it back. Typically the ones that changed it are like, we have to change this back, but he had to convince everyone like, I know you did this to save your dad, I know you always wanted to be a girl, stuff like that. And it's like, and then having to let someone die is just really crazy. So I love the way it was handled. I thought that was a fairly unique take on it, but would love to know what you guys thought about the series in general. So please put your comments down in the comment section below, and of course, thanks for watching.